that you didn't feature Abbie Chatfield's ass or twerking at any point?
I didn't. Maybe that's where I went wrong.
Yeah.
Shit. I hadn't thought about that.
We all get put under the banner of influencer, but actually there's vast differences between the person who simply wants to gather an audience of people that agree with them already versus the person that actually wants to contribute to the debate, that wants to be a thought leader, that wants to actually help to shape people's ideas and move people forward.
Okay, so in this reel, I am talking about friend of the show's boyfriend, so not Abbie specifically. And I want you guys to pay attention to my language, and this is important for a couple of reasons, and I'll go on to it in a second. But when I was saying the media personalities followed me, I wonder, because I knew I was kicking a hornet's nest.
Sure.
Right? And the queen murder hornet herself, Abbie Chatfield, I didn't say anything nasty, and you'll see this in a second, but the response I got, you would assume I had gone after her unborn child. Yeah. Like, that's how vicious her claim is.
Abbie wouldn't care about that. You can go after the unborn child. That's fine. Yeah.
I'm not going to make that comment. All right, so
that's a little too dark.
Let me just line this up for you guys. 1 minute. Hang on. She has a problem, and no, it's not a lack of talent. It's bigger, hairier, and much harder to ignore. So let's talk about it. I know what you're all thinking. Carly, Abbie Chatfield's boyfriend. Ooh. Well, what can I say? I live dangerously. We're going to address this bloke, Adam Hyde, otherwise known as Kelly Holiday, or one half of Peking Duck. And I know you're all thinking about to shit on him for his performance over the weekend, but to your surprise, I'm actually here in his defense. And no, it's not because I agree with him. I certainly don't. Politically, Adam and I are on very opposite sides of reality, but as a libertarian, I respect free speech, and even though that's a courtesy him and his girlfriend would certainly not afford someone like me, given that they want us to just die, that's a direct quote, I am a girl of principles. I'm never going to shit on someone who's clearly passionate about his art, and I actually think we need more of it, so tall poppy be damned. What I'm interested in is brand saturation, and this is the worst PR strategy, and it's currently the one strangling Adam's career. They've mistaken visibility for virtue, and the plan seems to be shove Adam into every podcast, panel, and Instagram story in Australia, hoping that sheer saturation turns him into a cultural event. They've dressed him up like a Michael Hutchinson's reboot, the 70s porn moustache, the Ron Jeremy swagger, but there's one tiny problem. You can't resurrect a cultural moment just because you wish it still mattered. The music Adam's making belongs to a world that no longer exists. It was millennials that lived the all-nighters, the glitter, the ecstasy in your bra, the revolver walk of shame at sunrise. We earned those lyrics, and this generation hasn't. Sadly, clubbing is dead, and this generation just vapes, spirals, and self-diagnoses anxiety disorders on TikTok. They're not sweating it out to a Tiesto set or transcending to a Four Strings remix. Kelly Holiday is selling nostalgia to a generation with no memory of the thing that they're nostalgic for. Adam has been propelled into ubiquity largely through his association with Abbie Chatfield and an unusually progressive publicity apparatus. His cultural footprint is not earned through artistic inevitability, but engineered through relentless multi-platform exposure. Each appearance is freighted with the same cluster of approved attitudes, and the result is not influence, but it's fatigue. Overexposure, when coupled with moral grandstanding, does not amplify his message. It's actually inoculating against it. Authentic cultural authority has never been granted by publicists, nor secured through an accumulation of talking head appearances. It is conferred, often reluctantly, when an artist manages to ignite something primal and unnegotiable in the audience. Everything else, the branding, the advocacy, the outfits, the carefully curated outrage, it's all superficial. If you strip that away, what remains is either resonance or indifference. The more incessantly he and his handlers insert him into the conversation, the more convincingly they demonstrate that the conversation was never truly about his music to begin with. Progressive ideology does not refine art, it sadly neuters it. And the moment the rock star becomes the regime's well-groomed mascot, the erotic charge of that rebellion collapses into a tepid safety of corporate compliance. They've long forgotten that the audience will only resonate if they truly feel it, not when they're told to think it. Okay.
Yeah, this is like Rage Against the Machine coming out in favour of the vaccines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is exactly the journey that artists go on. And I think this is why the reason why people are following you isn't the first half. The first half's good enough to keep people watching, but it's when you hit that second half that I think a lot of those sorts of people that are genuinely interested in this topic are sitting there going, oh, hold on, hang on, whoa, what did she just say? Because that business about how he is selling nostalgia for memories that his target audience doesn't actually have, I think is an incredibly powerful cultural observation of just how much the world has changed and just how much the artistic world has changed.
Well, I obviously got backlash, right?
Yeah. But also a lot of support.
To be fair, I got a lot of support, and I think I gained like 1,500 followers or something from it, which is lovely. But as predicted, the Abbie Chatfield stands came over. Now, what would you say is their criticism of my video there? What would you say that they could pull out as...
That you didn't feature Abbie Chatfield's ass or twerking at any point.
I didn't. Maybe that's where I went wrong.
Yeah.
Shit. I hadn't thought about that. No, what their main concern and the overwhelming commentary was around the way I spoke. Using a vast vocabulary and speaking in a way that's longer than 10 seconds and being able to deliver it clearly, articulately, in a way that they themselves are unable to digest.
Can you imagine if they discovered that you have a 3-hour podcast? Like their heads would explode.
So that was the first thing. The first one was like, oh, why is this so long? Just like get to the point. I'm sorry, 3 minutes is too long for you?
Oh, Carly, you can't expect people to have an attention span of 3 minutes these days.
So that's wild, because if you're going to do an educational piece, I'm sorry, there's no way I can say that in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't. And you can't deliver nuance. You can't make a solid point. I can't give you context. And this is what I think has been such a problem for so many people for like the last 6-7 years, is the lack of context.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't want to pay attention. But if you want to understand something, you've got to give people analogies. You've got to give them the research. You've got to give them a way to digest the information. You cannot do it in 10 seconds.
And this is the difference. When it comes to the online space, we all get put under the banner of influencer, but actually there's vast differences between the person who simply wants to gather an audience of people that agree with them already versus the person that actually wants to contribute to the debate, that wants to be a thought leader, that wants to actually help to shape people's ideas and move people forward.
Yeah.
The person that just wants to gather an army of people that agree with them, well, yeah, they can talk in 10-second sound bites because all they have to do is the hot take. All they have to do is make that single point that people go, yes, that thing, that's what I was thinking. And then they all get on board and they have an audience and they can monetize that audience. People like you and me, we actually want to make a difference.
Yeah.
We don't just want to gather a tribe. A tribe is nice. And it's a necessary thing, as we've discovered, because you have to be able to survive doing what we do. So yes, you need that tribe. But the point is not actually the tribe. The point is the people adjacent to the tribe, that if you can reach them and actually help them to see more clearly and understand more deeply, they join your tribe.
Yeah.
Not because they already agreed with you before they discovered you, but because by discovering you, they saw the world differently and better.
Yeah.
That requires time. And to make a point as complex and as deep as what you just did in 3 minutes is remarkable.
It's really hard. And I always say that. Like, so the way I typically work is I do a research as if I was writing an essay. And in my head, I'm writing 1,000-word essay.
Yeah.
And often it's too long.
So it's just one picture.
Pretty much.
You could just like sketch a picture and that's your 1,000 words right there.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I call it the education sandwich.
Yeah.
I make it somewhat entertaining, educational, and I always give people an anecdote or something relatable.
Yep.
And I make it applicable to millennials because that's pretty much who my audience is. And if you know anything about online content, you cater it to one specific person and then you catch others in the spray. You don't try and spray everyone and then catch no one. Right? So you talk specifically to your target audience. And then by and large, you actually capture a lot more people. But when I'm writing these things, I'm like, how can I make this relatable, on topic? And then, so someone said to me, oh, I see what you're doing here. You're trying to attach yourself to cultural moments so that you can gain a following. I'm like, hello, that is what social media is.
and you can't, yes, you are a cultural commentator. I'm a political commentator. You're a cultural commentator. Talking about cultural moments is literally what you do. But the point is helping people to understand them, what they mean, what the implications are, what might happen next.
But this expectation that every piece of content that goes on the internet is for you specifically. If it wasn't for you, honey, you can just keep scrolling.
Main character syndrome.
But I'm going to read you a comment that I got. So this is from... there's 2 comments, and one of them's an English teacher at high school. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Honestly, I have no idea what you're trying to say. Why the wildly excessive fluffing language? Who are you trying to impress? Because that's what you do. When you speak articulately, you're just trying to impress people. It couldn't just be that you're smart.
So to be fair, you could break it down into smaller words. And
Sure.
For example, I've got a lot of time for Winston Churchill. His whole philosophy was that if he couldn't be understood by a 12-year-old, then he was speaking in a manner that was too complex. You speak in a manner that is more complex than a 12-year-old. Okay, so could you make the choice to simplify the language? Yes, you could. Should you have to? Well, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's just a part of your brand. That's how you choose to communicate. That's not you being pompous. That's just you using your vocabulary. That's all it is. Oh, hi. You're still here. I just assumed everyone had left because Carly always falls asleep. Let's be honest. Oh, is that just me? I fall asleep because Carly... I don't know. Anyway, you're still here. So, did you just hit the... Carly, did you just reach? Seriously? Can you not leave well enough alone?
No, I must infiltrate every part of your life.
Back to me. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, because I suffer through Carly twice a week for you. I drive hours from where I live down to Melbourne to be tortured by Carly every week, and I do it for you because I love you so much. So please help me out. Just like, comment, subscribe, share the show, make sure that everyone else can join in the fun, and show up next week for like more oddcasty goodness. And if you really, really want to help me, then you can buy me a coffee via that little QR code there. You'll be supporting the show and helping me to tolerate Carly.